This is my friend WillTaylorChess. He makes chess videos on YouTube and recently he just hit 2,300 elo on Lichess. So after a pretty ego-boosting win against ChessMind in the last episode, I decided to take on Will Taylor in a 10-minute rapid match to find the difference between 2,300 elo on chess.com and Lichess. I know technically we already did this with Sadistic Tushi, but he was actually 2,500 elo on chess.com, so I feel that this matchup is a better reflection of the difference between the two platforms. You guys will be able to hear our thought process on every move we play, with commentaries alternating depending on whose turn it is. Once the game concludes, we'll collaboratively analyze the game to get a better understanding of each player's plans and ideas. But enough of me talking, let's get straight into the game. Okay, so we have the white pieces against WillTaylorChess, a very attacking and tactical player versus a very positional player.
Right, so he plays d4. We're gonna go for my c5, my old Benoni, of course.
It wouldn't make much sense for me to swap up just because this is the way that we're kind of framing this video, a very positional versus very tactical, but we'll see how Will Taylor wants to kind of dismantle our opening repertoire, and we'll play d5 against the old Benoni.
I'm gonna be disgusted. He doesn't. He plays for the advantage that I've given him the opportunity to play for, and it's a Benko gambit.
Okay, I love playing against the banker because it's really bad, but it's Will Taylor, you never know, he could play some aggressive line. Now, I'm extremely confident in my banko theory, but it's no secret Will found a hole in my repertoire straight out of the gates. If you want to avoid getting into this kind of situation, you might be interested in the sponsor of today's video, ChessMind. Most courses obsess over memorizing hundreds of opening lines, but ChessMind is built around something different, understanding positions and not just remembering moves. The goal isn't just to know theory, it's to know what to do when theory runs out. That's why the courses on ChessMind only take around an hour to complete, because the priority isn't on memorization, it's positional understanding. For just $7 per month, you can unlock over 50 courses on ChessMind, plus access to their AI coach, personalized puzzles, and training videos hosted by Chilean Grandmaster Maurizio Flores. And with the link in the description, you guys can get 20% off your purchase too.
Fun fact, if you didn't know, the dragon, it's named after the Draco constellation, because it resembles vaguely the Draco constellation. It's one of my favorite little facts about chess. Anyway, okay, so he takes on b5. We're playing a6. I don't know why I'm hesitating so much. This is literally all theory. I'm getting starstruck with the great Jack Sark. Forgive me. He fully accepts the Benko, wonderful.
And again, yeah, he doesn't have to take. We're gonna play knight c3 now, we can't play e5 straight away. Wow, okay. So he plays this line, which is super interesting. And his idea is that he's not gonna take it. Okay. That's something that you don't always see. Let's play knight f3. Okay, the idea is that he wants to take here. Do I have queen c2? Queen c2 is gonna take. Okay. If I play e5, he's going to play knight e4. So am I forced to play bishop d2 here? Probably, right? Bishop d2, kind of forced to play it.
Bishop d2 here. This is the best move. There are really two moves there, I think. This breaks the pin and allows the knight to be defending this, but I think now's an opportune moment to capture this pawn, and we will take back with the queen should he elect the capture and kind of carve a nice diagonal to prevent castling. Maybe we'll see queen e2. I wonder how theoretically deep we're going to get into this Benko gambit.
Queen b6, castles, queen takes. Well, I mean, I have to take, right? This is just a no real choice. I think we have to take, and queen e2 is just a very, natural move. Queen b2, queen b6, I think is just forced again. Do we have queen b5 there? Takes, is there anything? Not really. Just dropping a pawn. Queen e2, queen b6, there's bishop c1, I suppose. Queen e2, queen b6, castles, queen takes b2, rook b1. You know what, maybe we just turn the tables here a little bit.
There is no increment at all, so I don't know if he's aware of that. I hope he's aware of that. Let's play d6. Just complete my pawn chain.
So, okay, this is now transposing more into what I'm comfortable with. Takes, I guess we just castle. We also don't have to castle. No, we do have to castle, because then if takes, he's gonna get this for free. I'm also going down on time a bit. Let's trade the queens. You know what? No fun for you, Will Taylor. If you allow me to trade the queens, I'm gonna bore you to death in the most positional game you've ever laid your eyes on. Okay, now castling. Is castling good or is king e2 good? Two very valid moves. Usually I'd want to play a4 in positions like this. He's gonna go in for knight b4, I think. So king e2 might actually be a relatively smart move to hold this d3 square. And I don't really see any punishment for ever going king e2. So let's play it.
King e2, for real, probably a good move. Sick. Okay. Rook b8. Honestly, I'm playing rather algorithmically so far. Might have to stop thinking in a second because we've kind of got the setup here. Benko endgames are in general far more practically exciting for black, I think. You know, black tends to have the initiative. They tend to be the one asking questions. Like right now, I'm asking this question on b2. You've got to be worried about maybe you're going to play b3 and soften this up, or you step back here, but now is this rook going to be mobile? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't need to be because it wants to be on the a file. Maybe I'm going in like this. Maybe I'm going to go in like this. I don't know if that's actually productive at all. If I do this and this, yeah, there's some universe where that's useful, I guess, but if I go here and you just kick me, again, immediately it's not effective. I might start with knight d7. I kind of feel like, again, the pawn structure is excellent, and with regards, excuse me, to the pawn structure, this bishop is exactly where it wants to be on the open diagonal here, and the rooks are exactly where they want to be on the open files. I mean, we're just going to draw a picture here, wasting time doing so. The knights are what can now roam around and dance and try and find their place in the world. So I'm thinking knight here, maybe knight here. Seem vaguely productive. He's defending well so far, but also a bit passively. There's some universe where a c4 makes sense to like outpost a knight on d3, but I think honestly starting with knight d7 just means I'm never worried about an e5 break.
Well, he wouldn't want to trade off his bishop like this, but I wonder if he's going around this way. This would be a mistake. It's just letting me off the hook very easily here. Rook e1 maybe? There is also a4. a4, knight here, rook a3. I think a4 is the move I need to be playing. Let's go with a4.
There you go. a4 makes sense. This is a very thematic idea. You start pushing this, maybe a knight b5. Interesting. Maybe, I mean, this is a passed pawn as well. We have given up a passed pawn here, so definitely need to be concerned about that. I do now have knight b4, and that will go absolutely unperturbed. If you ever play knight here, I can just sack and win the rook here because this isn't connected. So, could make sense. Could make sense. Knight b6 though as well. Maybe coming into c4. That looks nice. Knight b6. What am I going to do? King d3 maybe? I can go check. I quite like that. Maybe you just play b3 yourself, but no, because this hangs. So knight here. If a5, I can move the knight, and then this should be, I think, overextended. I quite like bringing this to b6. Do I want to go here first? Honestly, what I want him to do is be thinking.
Okay, he's diving the knight in. This is like the correct way to go about it, I think. Yeah, and I can't go here because of here. Do I jump the knight back? I mean, I assume we definitely don't go here. That would feel not so smart. Maybe we go bishop d2, anticipating knight c4, and then we go knight b5. No, because then he just takes my pawn. God, does knight d2 need to come? Knight d2, knight b4. I think we need to do something weird in the position. I'm gonna go knight d2 to cover this c4 square.
It's a pretty mature move indeed, for whatever that means. e6 is always a pawn break that I do have. I like leaving this pawn structure static and stable, but at the same time, this is a move, right? Maybe even a rook e8 in this could make sense with the king on this file. But I think starting with this is almost a no-brainer. I just control interesting light squares. You can't kick me. If ever there's just problems with this hanging. Like, this is under a lot of pressure here. And genuinely, again, I've got the freedom to stack the rooks. I'm asking the questions of your position over here. And you're kind of, you know, you're retreating the bishop to defend the pawn here because of the pressure I put on it with the rook. You know, you're retreating the knight to defend the infiltration square on c7. You're kind of unable to move this rook open and actively because it needs to be defending this. He does go for f3, which is definitely very logical. I'm not asking the questions though, and that is, I'm happy about that. Genuinely just stack the rooks, and what you do about this is a good question, because b3 seems to be quite difficult to play. So, rook a7, do you have this? Not really. Unless I'm missing something. If rook here, maybe knight b3, and I'm just getting harassed for no reason. I genuinely just think rook a7, as simple as you like. I could also go here, though. And there's kind of no difference. We're going to end up transposing to the exact same position anyway. Oh, sorry. Here and here, or here and here? I don't know if there's any difference, and frankly, I don't think it's worth agonizing over such nuance. Because, I mean, how can that possibly actually matter? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Let's go here. This might have been a safer bet, just because then you never have this. Rook a3. I forget about that. Interesting. Interesting. But b3 is still not a move because the knight's soft, so I have this. I'm just stacking the rooks. You don't have b3 right now.
Okay, now I can just jump in, right? I can't go b3 annoyingly. No, I can't jump in either. So I go for h4. I'm definitely losing my pawn here. What about knight b5? Rook takes here. I don't see anything. I think I've got to like launch some kind of counterattack after the fact. Maybe I do go knight here. No, I should keep the knight here. Alright, let's just play h4.
Oh, fair enough. H5, just g4. Takes, and then you get to take and push past anyway. I don't know if I'm worried about this. I think I just cash in here and say, yes, please. If you take, I can take. I'm just not worried about h5. Let's hurry up with this. Although, is there a knight here, maybe? And if rook here... No, I'm fine, I think. I'm fine.
Knight b5, is this a move? Knight b5, let's say a5, let's say b3. Maybe just taking is better. No, let's make it complicated. Knight b5, I need to make things a little bit complicated with the time situation I have.
Interesting. There's problems here at some point as well. Here. Rook here. Your knight is hanging. If you go here, do I play rook here? I mean, I don't really see what... I could also step off, but then this becomes pinned, maybe? Here, you take this, I take your rook. You take here, I take this. There's definitely something, because there might be like a knight c3 in there with a check. But honestly, I just think rook a5 is quite simple. And simple might be my friend here.
Yeah, rook a5 is just a good move, isn't it? What about knight c7? Let's say rook a7. Oh, it's just so bad. What if I sack the exchange? I'm gonna sack the exchange. This position is getting like out of hand for me. If he sacrifices this bishop, then I'm very happy about that. But apart from that, I don't think there's much to be happy about in this position at all.
My position is fantastic and better, and I think maybe knight here, and this kind of rerouting into here. Although knight here kind of kills that, but I can still go check. I don't want to just force trades and win an endgame, but also. Here, there's a lot of pressure on this, and I guess b3. Maybe there's an infiltration here, actually. Hold on. For real, there might just be this. Should I start with this and try and immobilize that bishop? I mean, it's already immobile, but maybe I can further immobilize it. Am I getting my rook trapped? Hold on, what am I doing? I like... Whoa! Jesus, flipping on a bike! Excuse the profanity, excuse the blasphemous profanity there. For real, just didn't even notice this was hanging. Actually, the greatest player of all time right here. Don't worry about it. This... Okay, I hate to be like actually just really boring, but I'm just not going to hang my rook here and kind of pass the move back and see what he does with it. That kind of makes some sense, but yes, please. I kind of want the bishop.
Not super chuffed about any of this. Maybe we go king d3. King d3, he'll probably go takes and takes. But I think we have to at least get something active. Let's go takes and takes. Yeah, takes. Yeah, okay, he checks like that. That's fine.
Could be really foolish, but can win a pawn. No one wants that pawn. Come on now. We're going here and we're tickling this. And I just think that now this is just such an unrivaled and excellent piece. I mean, we'll start with this.
And maybe we get active with... Or maybe we play b3.
And I've got a pair of rooks, and you're going to do that, which makes sense, but also taking here honestly doesn't seem entirely absurd. I don't really know what to do here, though, actually. Hold on. I want to own the A file. Okay, I'm just playing bishop here. I'm gonna pass the move back to him and see what he does with it. Okay, he's gonna start pushing. Listen, I might for real do this because things could be getting slightly dire unless... Okay, you know what? That's really lame and I'm sorry. But I'm getting in here now because you've taken with the rook.
Wait, if I go rook here, he goes rook here, I go here, he goes here, I go here. He's got 2 rooks under attack.
Rook here, knight f3, check. King here. Sack the rook. Okay, I actually really like this because I think he's going to go here and I think I might be able to get 2 knights and two pawns and a knight for my rook. Does this work? Or am I an idiot? No, it doesn't. Okay, well, yeah, this is kind of embarrassing actually. I do just have this actually. Yeah, sure, we'll go for that. And then I guess come off this way and presumably go check. Oh, flipping out, it's a bit of a time scramble here. Right, apologies, Jack, I'm sorry. I'm doing this, I'm playing far from my characteristic self, but I mean, you played d4, that's your fault. That's your fault. And I'll take like this, and I think just pretty impossible to lose now. And that makes it even more impossible to lose. And I don't know if he's going to go for the flag or something, but...
I'll let him mate me, actually, just for the sake of the series, but this might be the worst game I've played in one of these episodes. Oh my god.
And king g3, and king g2, and win the game with king h1. I'm sorry, that was bad manners. I apologize, forgive me, but also, I'm not sorry.
Oh my god, I think I didn't set it with increment. Okay, I was completely lost anyway. I don't think the increment had anything to do with it, but we'll get into analysis with Will right now. So we'll start from the start. D4. Yeah. I was thinking, do you normally play the Benoni? I was like, is he got a weird way to make this?
Yeah, C5, baby. C5 every single time. I don't, I mean... I despise symmetry in general in chess, so I just sort of like, you know, if genuinely, let me just, you know, if E4, I'll play a Scandinavian. If D4, I'll play this. If English, I'm actually started playing this, bro.
Oh my god, what even is that? What is that called?
It's called the C4 and B5. It's called the Yanish, and then something which I'm trying to basically,
right, okay,
you know, invent/discover at the moment is basically playing like a pseudo Sicilian wing gambit here, and this is how I'm starting playing against the English these days. But anyway, point is, yeah, I just crush like only you know, pawn imbalanced openings, and I was praying if you'd gone for like C3 here and then played like a London, for real, I would have started crying. So
no,
I don't know, like I'm very glad that you were a man and you decided to play D5.
I have a similar philosophy where I don't like symmetry, but I only if there is a space imbalance, then it's fine. Like obviously in the Benoni, space imbalance, so it's okay. But if we're playing like
for sure
this, and then I'm gonna have to like I'll play Queen's Gambit. If you play Queen's Gambit decline, I'll make something weird. Like Catalan is not a weird opening,
but Catalan is,
but like you often get these opportunities to have really good space imbalances in these kind of openings. And yeah, but I agree. Like if we're playing like this, that's the reason that I stopped playing the London. Right, it's just very kind of boring.
It gets so dry. It gets so dry and boring. And to be fair, to be honest, mate, it's probably because I suck at those positions. But you know, if it's cope, if it's not cope, I just don't want to play, you know, D4, D5 positions ever. So I pretty much unanimously I play C5, and then, I mean, I struggle a little bit when people kind of just refuse to party and don't play. You know, if they play like an E3 or a C3 or whatever, I'm just like, for crying out loud. But you know, if takes, this does pretty terribly for white in general because you can't really hold on to this pawn. There's some cool stuff with like A5 here, I'm sure. But then obviously here, my sort of Benko Gambit approach then is obviously the original Benko like this, and then the sort of G6. I hate going for an E6 break in the Benko, which often happens, and I just kind of...
Yeah, I don't like it. D6 is just absolutely fine. I really... This is probably a weakness in my repertoire. I really hate when they don't take. It's just super annoying because like I know this full line where they take knight c3, d6, e4, takes, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, g3, castles, king g2, knight bd7, and then you play a4, and this is like my whole theory revolves around this line. And then when you don't, it's weird because it looks like it shouldn't matter, but then you go ahead and play something like g6, and I'm like, okay, I have knight c3, I can continue my plan. Then you're like bishop g7, and then I'm like, okay, I'll play e4, castles, and it's like, okay, I'm kind of running out of moves. Like, what do I do with this bishop?
Yeah.
And then
Well, there's part of this real quick, just before we move on to the queen a5 stuff. Part of my reasoning to like not take on a6. First of all, there's just one like Magnus Carlsen game that I played that I saw a while ago where he played this line, and I've just been in love with it since. But the idea of basically delaying this and saying it's hard for you to develop this bishop, and if you, for instance, play like, let's say bishop c4 at any point, then I take, and very often you want rid of this bishop, otherwise it's excellent on the diagonal, so I can kind of take with this tempo and actually sort of bait you into this like stutter step, basically, where you burn some tempo. And I've just got so much productive stuff to be getting on with here, and like the d6 and queen a5 and bringing the knight or whatever. Eventually I'm going to have to take this, but I kind of feel like, as you said, you run out of stuff to do before I do, and so genuinely, not that I'm trying to advise you as to how to beat me in the future, but the thing that annoys me most here is when someone goes for like a7 straight away. And they forcibly give back the pawn, because it's so annoying, because now I have to take with rook, because I mean knight ace, like, well, I'm going to have to take this with the rook at some point, and I don't get that natural one of these. We kind of both, you know, you burn a tempo here, but now my rook's on a7, I don't get to recapture like this, and sometimes, you know, your a4 idea, there's like, I imagine that gels quite well with the knight b5, and then that can end up coming with tempo later, and you can kind of regain the tempo. So if one bit of advice for a few seasons in the future, the thing that annoys me most and where I don't feel comfortable is if someone just hits me with a7, I'm like, for crying out loud. And it's really annoyingly forcing.
You know what's funny about that? It's like, it's just one move. I don't need to study anything for that, because it kind of just goes into the theory that I know already. Where
for sure.
A7 here, okay, I'll play this, and then, okay, let's play this, I'll play this, and then it's like, well, where is this bishop going? Like, sure, you can try this, but then bishop d2, it's actually just +1 now. Like, it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. So it just gets annoying when that rook's on a7, genuinely, because knight b5 is so often useful for white, because I think a4, knight b5 ends up being quite a good way of shutting down that b file.
Yeah.
And you can kind of regain the tempo later. So that's just, you know, one tiny tweak. Don't even bother studying anything else. Just play a7 early if someone's annoying you in the benko, and it'll piss them off, I think. Excuse the profanity. That can always be sensitive.
No, I definitely will play a7. That's a good idea. Because I've had problems with that before, and I've just been like, I can't be bothered studying that. But apparently the refutation is very easy. So castles, we can kind of skip through a little bit of the theory, but white, it's like, you can see white's evaluation is just going down by 1 decimal every turn. It's like plus 0.3, and then it's plus 0.2, and plus 0.1, now it's 0. Like, I'm slowly just trading into this game that the engine thinks is quite good for black, and now it's even slightly better. So I guess I just...
Because in general, like any endgame, like, if the queens come off, black's just so much more comfortable and has so much more initiative, and like the whole opening is designed around get these open A and B files, or semi-open A and B files, slap the rooks there, get this amazing, you know, fianchetto bishop, and have it putting pressure on there as well. And so you know, even though you're up a pawn, the endgame's so much more difficult unless you really know what you're doing in terms of some weird construction for you to play. Like sometimes castling and playing rook b1 yourself, like rook hb1 coming over this way, is genuinely one of the best ways to deal with it, because then you're sort of less worried about the pressure. Like once you went back with the bishop, it was kind of hard to connect the rooks, etc. So I think in general, any queen trade, like black is normally happy to take it. I kind of, you know, turn my nose up at queen trades in general, but in this context, when it's a benko endgame, this is probably my one part of my repertoire that's actually quite, you know, positionally sound. And I think then it's just... It's sort of like, it's my game to be asking questions of you, basically, for a while at least in the endgame. I
didn't realize at all how difficult this endgame is to play without the queen. Like, I kind of made the assumption that it would be okay, because usually, I mean, this, as long as white gets their way and, like, this a-pawn gets rolling, it's okay, but apparently you just need that queen. Like, this whole a-pawn idea of running the a-pawn doesn't work if you don't have a queen on the board. I guess that's just an oversight I made, because... I even play the right move here in King E2. It's like top engine move, but it just gets very difficult. Like, you need to bring the hate trick, Bishop C1, and suddenly it's black's game to play for.
Yeah. And then it's what I was saying while I was playing was that basically from here, like I just, you know, within the context of this pawn structure, my rooks are perfect because they're exactly where they want to be on the open A or the semi-open A and B files. The bishop's perfect on the fianchetto diagonal, and it's now just play around with the knights and like see what happens and start trying to, you know, pick apart things and just dance in with the knights and start causing. I mean, eventually, you know, I was threatening to come into C4, which would obviously been unpleasant. So you kind of played this knight back to prevent that, and now you're just sort of turtling up with your pieces in a way that is very, you know, responsive to what I'm doing, and then just allows, you know, there's so much pressure that can get put on here. And I think one of the reasons, again, this rook a3 idea, I got scared because I was like, oh my lord, I've seen that in really like sort of meticulous analyses of the Benko, but because it sort of unpins from here. But there's just this problem where like you could never play b3 because your knight was hanging, and so I think there's maybe if you play b3 earlier, there are a lot of problems for me. Like for instance, I go for this, you go for your a4, let's say. I think there's some scenario where, I don't know, does b3 make any sense? Probably not immediately here.
B3 could work.
Yeah, it kind of starts to suck. b3 could work, but like apparently I've got f5, whatever. But it starts to repel me just because you need this being held. Once your bishop went back, I think it made this quite loose and weak, and then you never had b3, and it was always pinned to here, and your rooks weren't connected, and yeah, I don't know. It's just unpleasant for black to play. And again, I mean, the lack of increment probably worked in my favor there because you had to spend time working out what was going on while I was just sort of just chilling with my beautiful rooks.
Bishop c1 is me trying to like get back in, because like even in my regular line, the bishop never goes to d2. You play a4, rook a3, b3, and bishop b2. So I guess bishop c1 was trying to like transpose back into something that I'm more familiar with, but even in that context, like the bishop going back to c1 isn't gonna help me, because the whole reason that you play bishop c1 in the regular line is because the queen's on the board. But there's no queen on the board here, so the entire kind of plan falls apart, which I guess I just didn't see at all. So knight d7, my engine evaluation's not working, so I'm hoping that I can
try and get a read off.
Okay, perfect. So
knight d2, you found an excellent knight d2 there. That was the only move that I was like, because if you give me knight c4, I think things start, you know, my knights can dance in on those light squares weirdly effectively. D3, even sometimes if I can get it, I can sometimes get a knight to d3 if you haven't played king e2, and it's just really nasty.
Yeah, I was even trying to get like
knight
the king
d2 is
up
excellent.
to d3, but I was like, oh, if I get the king to d3, it just immediately has to go back.
There's always that check. Yeah.
So I wonder what was the point? Because like the engine is saying it's not bad. Like it's obviously a very impractical position to play, but where did it go terribly wrong? I guess here.
Apparently,
F3.
you got to find a5.
Sorry.
Hold on. So you go move back. If a5 here, this is where yes, it's pinned, but I guess I don't have such pressure on this. It's really hard to play, man. Here, maybe you get knight b3 eventually somehow.
I mean, are you gonna find?
I'd imagine that.
Are you gonna find a rook a6? This is like a pretty. What?
For sure. I mean, I would be trying to stack, because what did I play here? I played rook a5, right?
I
did rook a7. Basically, one of my key ideas is basically just stack, and so it's not, rook a6 isn't exactly genius. I mean, maybe I wouldn't have gone rook a6, maybe I'd have gone here or something, but the idea of like, right, my knight's excellent here, my bishop's excellent here, I can't move forward with this knight, but there's a pawn that you've started to push, you didn't have the ability to sort of reinforce it, and so I'm just going to stack, was kind of the thought process. So, I mean, apparently a5 here, it's just so, like, it's on a knife's edge the whole time, because if you don't find a5 here, it starts to slip away from you, and...
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I mean,
you know what
the hell's the idea of
chess
a5?
is so weird, because you can play an opening for literally 3 years, and this entire... You're like saying, oh, the whole idea is to stack the rooks, and like, and I'm like, what? I've played this for 3 years, I've never heard anyone utter such a plan in the banker. Like,
dude, when I say, you know, that's the plan, I'm not speaking from major authority, just my own experience with the Benko and some vague stuff. It is a plan that I've seen regularly when I analyze games work pretty well, because again, you've just got so much freedom, you've got so much dimensions, or so, it's been phrased horrifically, but basically you've got such a flexibility with the rooks here, because you've just got so much room. And my thoughts, again, this isn't from a book or anything, I do a surprisingly weak amount of like studying in terms of chess openings, etc. I just do it with like Lichess database analysis board.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
reviewing
do,
games, etc. You got to be doing that. So then what I sort of sometimes see is like, right, if a4 and you can't play b3 and you start pushing this, you're kind of disconnecting this pawn from the pack a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not isolated per se, but because I've got this knight on b4, there's kind of this blockade such that you're never playing b4 yourself, and maybe if I just go after that, it should be hard to hold on to, is my only thinking. And I was thinking if eventually you play knight b3 to try and hold on to this, you let me into c4 now, and it's very difficult for you to probably play correctly there.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, go on, sorry.
I think one of the things that I watch a lot of like classical chess, not so much because I care about them, but because like you learn a lot from what the commentators say. And I think one of the main things that I've learned from them is they always say this, is the passed pawn an asset or a liability? And it's such a good way to think about passed pawns, because if there was a queen on the board, it's an asset. because there's no queen on the board, it's probably a liability because it becomes really difficult to defend. And there's just no, Black's game plan is very clear. You just give Black a game plan, and then your game plan is suddenly defend this pass pawn, not to promote it.
Yeah.
So it kind of just gives Black a way forwards in this game. Even though the engine thinks it's fine, I think practically very difficult.
I also think one of the key things as well that was majorly a problem is that the fact that this pawn was pinned to the rook was due to the fact that you brought the bishop back to c1 because then you've disconnected the rooks. So it's like that bishop c1 probably caused you a lot more of a practical headache than we even realized initially, just because there was so much based on the fact that this is pinned and this is never really a threat. Like, if you could do this with tempo, maybe the game changes. Maybe I've got to go back, maybe you get to step into c4, maybe you then get to occupy b6 yourself with a knight somehow. I don't know, but it's I think the bishop c1 was probably just too regressive and disconnected the rooks, and then there's then a problem with the fact that the a-pawn's pinned maybe.
The reason I thought I got away with it because we played rook a7 and then I immediately played rook a3, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm unpinning myself. Now I can, like, there are, things in this position. So rook ab8, and I was so desperate for I thought there must be something here. I was like, first of all, I played h4 here because I was like I realized my clock was ticking down and I didn't really. Same with f3. F3 was like, I just gotta play a move. So after rook ab8, I was like, okay, there's got to be something here. So I was calculating this, and I was like, nope, doesn't work. And the knight just does nothing over here. Like, you can try to do something, but the knight really does nothing. And you can never play b3 because you're just down a tempo everywhere you look, every plan you go for. Because white seems to be down a tempo because you have no queen on the board. It's like the queen is like the glue to this middle game apparently. Well, like, if the queen is not on the board, none of the ideas work, and you have to just start from scratch. Like, none of the ideas I was looking for were kind of working. So I went with h4 and I was like, you know what, let's try and open up some other side of the board.
Send it.
Takes, and then even this was probably just a stupid idea to try and go for b5. And I was like, you know what, I'm so low on time, let's just...
you gotta go for that.
Yeah, I tend to think that, like, when games get to a certain position, the analysis means a lot less.
Means a lot less for sure. I thought, by the way, some horrific miscalculation, sorry, just in my context. I went rook g1, which is apparently correct. I for real thought here that I was going to do this, you were going to do this, and then I was going to play this and, like, win a knight and 2 pawns for a rook. I thankfully realized just before and gave the intermezzo check.
You don't even win that much. You takes. Here I just take the rook. And you just...
No, sorry, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's why it was like a miscalculation, because I initially, I thought that's what I was going for, and then when I saw this, and I was like, oh, I'm a genius, because after takes, you take, and then I've undermined the knight, great. But then when I got to this position, I was like, oh, Jesus, right, I got to give the check. I kind of lucked out a little bit with the fact that, again, both my rooks are hanging, and I had this check to escape that, because I did... I don't know, but from this point, again, it's so unbelievably difficult for you to even find any counterplay because I've just got this one mass of, like, extremely healthy pawns, and the base of the pawn chains are so inaccessible, and it's so difficult for you to play, and my rooks are just infiltrating, and it's just an absolute dream position for me where...
I think in the banker, typically it's, like, very similar to something like the King's Indian, where it's like, okay, you play the banker, and then white does their best to prove that your opening sucks, and then they either do or they don't, and if they do, then you lose, right? If somebody is really good against the banker, they're gonna win. If somebody is really prepared, really good at the middle games, like... I would say, I even said before this episode started, I was like, thank God he played the banker. Well, not thank God, but like, I'm really glad he played the banker because I'm really good at the banker. Maybe this line was like my only exception, but otherwise I have like a 60%, 70% win rate against the banker as the white pieces. Like I used to have a 30% win rate, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna learn this opening, like,
sort it out,
figure this out.
And
now I'm really good at it. But you kind of, it's either you play someone that doesn't really study theory and you're going to beat them with the banker, or you play someone that really knows the theory and you're going to lose to them, or it's going to be like a complicated game. It's one of those openings where it's like, a lot of the times it's not, oh, this could go either way. It's kind of, if they just play the right moves and enough of the right moves, the end games are just impossible for there to be any counterplay. And in this case, it's like black is just going to win, there's no counterplay. But in some other cases, it can be, okay, white's just got a pass pawn, there's nothing to play for black.
I've had some of those where I've got like the dark squared bishop, but it's trapped on this side of the pawn chain, and I can't get back to stop on the like dark squares when the pass pawn starts running. I think in general...
Sorry, you go.
I'm just saying that in general, as you say, I think, to be fair, I hadn't even connected those dots in my head, but the fact that you sort of keep referencing the idea of the queen being on the board being a sort of deciding factor here, I guess I've always thought of the Benko as something where you're playing with this constant ace up your sleeve, which is any endgame should be really pleasant for me if we get the queens off the board early. That doesn't mean I'm pursuing the queen trade as quick as I possibly can, because for instance, you go back to here, like I could have just played queen takes here and forced king e2.
A slightly better
and like
format,
that would have been a good, but I just thought, okay, well I'm gonna play d6 and say, look, if you want a castle, obviously there's just gonna be takes and I win the e-pawn, so you can't quite get on with your plan of what you might want to achieve until you, on my terms, you know, you're the one that has to play 1-2 to get the queen off of this beautiful diagonal, cutting the light squares. And I think again it probably all comes back to the delaying of recapturing this pawn and the fact that cutting this diagonal causes you a bit of a headache. I don't know, yeah, it's a real interesting one, because I think we've just got completely different conceptualizations of the Benko, in the sense that I didn't really appreciate just how much I actually do value that Benko endgame, and I don't normally consider myself an endgame player, but I guess in the Benko it's a different case. I also, just very briefly, I have to apologize for rugby too, dude. That is lame as hell. But, you know, we were getting low on time, and I was the whole time I was going to, I was like, dude, I'm sorry, this is kind of lame.
Yeah, and
I'm getting
you should have seen my face in the recording when I was like this, and I was like, wait a minute, he's giving me this. Wait, I was like, huh? This is like not losing anymore, and I was like, oh, I have no time.
No, yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't. Yeah, I noticed, and I was just like, right, we're just gonna mop this up, because it's been relatively clinical thus far. Let me put out a good performance for the positional chess fans
I think the most interesting thing about this game was how much we kind of, well, maybe probably everyone can relate to this, but how much we rely on the, like, what we know about openings, because like I was just basing my entire game plan off of how my Benko games have gone before, and like patterns that I've recognized in the games that I've already played, and it just turns out when the queens are off the board, all of those patterns go out the window, and there's just nothing, right? So it's so weird that like half the time it's not even us really calculating, okay, what do we think is good for this position? It's kind of, oh, this worked last time, let's do it again, right? And not really seeing how the positions can be changed so drastically.
Honestly, mate, I think that was a very favorable matchup for myself, just opening to opening. I think I fluked it by getting a very good side of an opening that, you know, just becomes unbelievably hard for you to play. I think if the colors were reversed, or if we played a slightly different opening or something, this would not have been. I think I'd probably get mopped up, especially with an increment, because I'm not particularly positionally solid in a lot of cases. You've picked the one opening where I'm actually a positional wizard. Everything else, I would have sacked a piece and just lost badly in an endgame. So,
we'll have to.
It was fun though. Good game.
Yeah, good game. We'll have to have a rematch sometime to have a decider.
Absolutely. We'll see what the comments say, mate. See what the comments say. See if they're thirsting for more.
Exactly. Well, leave a comment below if you want to see Will Taylor Chess on the channel again. But yeah, thank you for coming on. It was a great game. Very, very well played. And
thank you, mate. Thank you very much.
I hope everyone
Pleasure.
watching enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.